2D groups continue to avoid making their most popular groups debut with major music labels. There have been some experiments, but so far, those weren't enough to start a wave of major 2D group debuts. So, what is happening? How are major debuts actually affecting the 2D music industry? Let's kick off this episode of Seiyu Lounge. Welcome to Seiyu Lounge. I am your host Vanessa, and today's topic is: how are major debuts affecting the 2D music industry? This was a topic suggested by Grecia in the 100th episode survey. The comment is as follows: how are major music labels affecting the 2D music industry? I've been thinking a lot about Jero Axia's case, and I wonder if there are chances for other 2D bands or units to sign a major label, and if so, how these will affect their activities, and if also could affect the industry if this happens more in the future. At the time the episode dropped, I kind of gave a quick answer to this. In this episode, however, let's dive a bit deeper into how are major debuts affecting the 2D music industry. What does signing to a major music label mean? Signing to a major music label, Sony Music Japan, Universal Music Japan, Avex, King Records, Nippon Columbia, or Pony Canyon, means that the artist or 2D music project or group is aiming to take music really seriously. These music labels are big and have resources to spare, making their artists stars, but require of them to deliver in sales and live show attendances. Joining a major music label is the dream of many artists, and for 2D music projects, it means they have full support for their endeavors and will have, at least, we all assume, good promotions that will put their names, groups and music on the spotlight with ease. This arrives with a major caveat. If the artist or 2D group doesn't deliver good sales or sells out live shows, they will have one foot out of the door, and the music label will start pressuring them towards making those sales quick. Why would 2D music projects sign some of their groups or bands to a major music label? To bring in extra money to support the project or the bands or groups in question. It is also through major music labels that you can launch projects in a way that no one misses what is happening with that project. Major music labels will make sure that project or 2D group is everywhere, from ads on radio, TV, and even billboards on important places throughout the country's big cities. So a 2D music project launching with the support of a major music label will have a better start than others, but it will also have higher expectations and ridiculous objectives to meet. 2D groups within 2D music projects being signed to major music labels is not common, but something that can happen in very specific cases. The 2D music project doesn't know what may happen in the future, something about it is uncertain, so it wants to ensure that at least that specific 2D groups or bands are still around should the 2D music project ends up being discontinued. Or the 2D group or band is really popular and attracting a lot of attention beyond the regular Seiyu or 2D music project fan bases. On the other hand, a Seiyu in that group or band is really popular and the 2D music project wants to leverage that in order to bring more popularity to itself. And just a shot in the dark. It is basically the 2D music project trying to bring in the eventual popularity that the specific band or group may get with that debut. This is a cheap way to bring attention to a project that may have more than 3 groups. Only one group or band is sacrificed to test the waters and see if people are interested in the project. If that doesn't work, only one group failed, the others remain untouched. All this to say that the reasons why 2D music projects would want to have one of their popular groups or bands making a solo debut may really differ. There have been some experiments over the years with 2D music projects as a whole signed directly to major music labels instead of through sub-labels. Let's talk a bit about those. Dynamic Chord, the 2D music project that had a major music label contract and then... Well, Dynamic Chord was originally signed to Nippon Columbia, major music label that, when you look closely, is not really known for supporting 2D music projects to begin with. When the project debuted in 2014, with all the money that Nippon Columbia poured over its music, basically the project was grabbing attention and bringing in some people to consume its contents, which were the visual novels, the drama CDs, and the sort. Everything was going well for the project signed to this major music label. However, with that success came the anime and game adaptations. Both fell flat on their faces, bare bones of the original content. The music stopped attracting people to the project. The project was the laugh in town in 2017. Seeing as everything about the project was failing, Nippon Columbia pulled the plug on its support of Dynamic Chord, and in 2018 the project found itself without a music label to distribute its music and support the music releases it had planned. Notice how the music label completely abandoned Dynamic Chord as soon as it stopped delivering good results? That's usually the high stakes that come with having a 2D music project signed to a major music label. Tokimeki Restaurant, the mixed media project that has been with Universal Music Japan through thick and thin. For those of you that have been following 2D music projects or even mixed media projects for quite some time, this is one of those projects that you'll know about but that now you barely see anyone supporting. Tokimeki Restaurant is one of the very first mixed media projects to feature the contrast between a regal and a sexy idol group. It is a project that consistently has released music despite it being primarily a game. Support for this project has wavered a whole lot in the last couple of years. In a way, you can safely say that many people are still surprised this project has been around for so long. In this case, Universal Music Japan didn't put ridiculous expectations or goals on top of this project, and despite its declining sales numbers and the few fans that are still around, the music label never once put the project or any of its groups aside. Gyroaxia's Experience, which is to say a major debut with Universal Music Japan, and then... Well, Gyroaxia band from the Argonavis franchise made its major debut in 2022 following a complete change in ownership of the project, moving from Bushiroad to its own company. The announcement of Gyroaxia's major debut arrived as surprising but still welcoming, as it meant the band would have a lot of support, not to mention the marketing machine that Universal Music Japan has behind them. This also meant that perhaps the other bands would follow suit, which, at the time of writing this episode, hasn't happened. As a matter of fact, all other bands are still signed to Bushiroad. So this was an odd announcement that perhaps meant something else that we may never understand. Gyroaxia made its major debut under Universal Music Japan in 2022, releasing the stellar album Freestyle. Right from the start, you could notice how different the quality of the music and its production were in comparison to the music released with Bushiroad. Music that was released thinking about only pleasing fans of 2D music. By joining a major music label, Gyroaxia got to change its sound a little bit, bringing forth a sound that even non-fans of 2D music can enjoy. This alone was an awesome strategy to attract more attention to the band. Its vocal, Jin Ogasawara, and ultimately the 2D music project it stems from Argonavis. So what changed for Gyroaxia? Signing to a major music label put the band on the spotlight, even if briefly, but that didn't change anything about the sales. Take for example, Without Me, Break It Down. The CD was released during the band's stint with Bushiroad, and it sold a bit over 8,000 copies in its first week of sales. Now look at Freestyle, CD released under Universal Music Japan. The CD sold a bit over 9,000 copies. So joining a major music label didn't change a thing about the sales numbers for Gyroaxia. A 2D band doesn't join a major music label to sell an extra 1,000 copies. Did the band go viral? Did the band attract more attention to its music or even to the From Argonavis franchise? No. So is the band being well treated? This you can bet it is. You'll easily notice that seeing how less frequently the band has released music, giving time for the band to hold live shows, to record new music, and do their things at their own pace. This is something you can say has vastly improved the quality of the music Gyroaxia releases. More time working on it, not having seasonal releases, all of that helps the band stay highly productive. But is the band on the spotlight? No. By giving time for the band to do things at its own pace, what has happened after the major debut with Freestyle in February 2022 is a big void of no CD releases. We're in August 2022 at the time of this recording, which is to say 6 months later, and the band hasn't released a follow-up CD to capitalize on the potential interest in its work. This is something that, from a marketing standpoint, makes me wonder why would Gyroaxia join a major music label to completely reduce the work it puts out and just be quiet for most of the time. So for Gyroaxia, the only things that really changed with joining a music label was an increase in the quality of their music, at least production-wise, and the fact that they are not being overworked. On the opposite side is the lack of exposure by not being active as regularly as they were before. Of still performing music for anime to cater back to the niche that they did back then when they were signed to Bushiroad, instead of aiming to become accessible and welcoming even for those that do not follow 2D music, like it was the initial objective with joining Universal Music Japan. I was really excited about Gyroaxia joining Universal Music Japan, but honestly I'm not seeing anything changing for them to make them known to the masses. Who knows if, with time, joining a major music label will pay off, but right now it doesn't sound like it has been a massive upgrade over what was happening at Bushiroad. Are there chances for other 2D bands or units to sign to a major music label? Seeing Gyroaxia's recent experience and even previous experiences, 2D groups or bands joining major music labels seems like something that will only happen in very specific cases. Most massively popular 2D music projects will avoid doing that, as there is no need to have their groups joining major music labels. They already have popularity with that music label, and even if their projects fail, the groups can always be picked up by that music label and be given a different career. If joining a major music label would have drastically changed Gyroaxia's career and path, I'm sure more 2D music projects would start signing their popular 2D groups to major music labels. I can imagine Quartet Night, Trigger, Undead, Thrive, and many others getting major music label debuts, but then again, why bother when they are already really well within their projects they are a part of, and with the music labels that currently support them? It is still an opportunity down the line in order to save 2D music projects, should those fail and the popular groups still draw attention to them. But I don't see much appeal to make an effort to get that major music label contract. So to answer the question, there are chances, but those are really slim at the moment. If anything changes for Gyroaxia, for the better, Perhaps other 2D music projects will risk it and try to make their popular 2D groups and bands sign to major music labels. As fans, we want the best for our favorite 2D groups, bands, and projects. We want to see them succeed, perhaps even hitting stardom. We want our favorite seiyuu to be recognized through their work in those projects, having their singing or rapping skills recognized. We want the best for them. Music labels are not like that. They don't want the best for their artists. They want to give them the best so that they can return those favors twice or thrice as much. They want those groups or bands to become popular so that they can reap the fruits of their hard work. They don't want the best for 2D music projects, bands, groups, or even seiyuu. They want the money. And that is a big reason why 2D groups or bands joining major music labels bring a lot of worries to the spotlight. If they fail to sell well for a period of time, if their games fail to impress, if their live shows completely fail to attract attention, they can see that support from their music label completely fade away. Joining a major music label may seem like a high-risk, high-reward bet, but it isn't. There is no risk for the music label, only for the 2D group or band joining it. If they fail, they are sacked. The music label continues its work with a minor loss that will, for sure, be repaid by the 2D music project from which that band or group that failed stems from. So while I am really excited about the prospect of 2D groups or bands joining major music labels, I'm also realist about it, and I know that the success cases are really few, and despite major music labels promising a good exposure of those groups or bands, what happens is that the exposure in question is kept to a bare minimum, and what seemed like a promising future for those 2D outfits ends up being a bleak one. All this to say, especially because the question that was made mentioned Gyroaxia specifically, is that I hope Universal Music Japan shows more support to the band and really helps it becoming more popular. However, let's not forget that we do not know if the band has to continue to release music within a tight schedule that was defined by the From Argonavis franchise. That scheduling of CD releases may be hindering the chances for Gyroaxia to be more active in the music industry and become far more popular and beloved than it is. Now tell me, what do you think about the possibility for other 2D groups or bands to make major debuts? And which 2D group or band would you love to see making a major debut? Let me know in the comments on YouTube, and remember, leave your comments as complex or as simple as they may be, and you can be featured on upcoming episodes of Seiyuu Lounge. Hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed this episode and don't want to miss the Hand That Feeds HQ's weekly male seiyuu and music-related content. I'll return next week with another episode of Seiyuu Lounge. Thank you for listening, and see you guys around.